Hello everyone, Vincent from HDTV Test here. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about Vizio's new televisions that have been launched today. In normal times, I probably would have flown across to the USA, maybe to sunny California where Vizio is headquartered, to attend a briefing in person. But as it just so happens, there is a global pandemic happening right now, and there are various travel bans in place. So all of us AV journalists had to attend a webinar over Zoom instead. But Vizio is calling their new TV lineup the 2021 collection because the launch has been delayed by the pandemic, and many of these new TVs will be carrying over to next year. So that's the reason for the 2021 collection moniker, which is just as well because for many of us, including myself, the year 2020 has been a write-off. I can't travel to anywhere nice. I can't go to a nice restaurant, order a nice glass of Cabernet Sauvignon. But, I digress. Let's come back to Vizio's new TVs. And I think that of interest to viewers on this channel will be the new OLED and also the new P-Series Quantum X full array local dimming LED LCD television. Let's start with the OLED. This is going to be Vizio's first ever OLED TV. It will come in two screen sizes, 55 inches and also 65 inches. Because we know that there is realistically only one major OLED panel manufacturer, and that's LG Display, which produce all these panels that are put into consumer OLED TVs. These OLEDs from Vizio will have largely similar characteristics to other OLED TVs that we have seen this year and maybe last year. The thing is, I don't know whether Vizio is using 2019 or 2020 panel, but I'll come to that later. So they have been spec'd to have a peak brightness of around 800 nits, but I think, that's probably on a small window size, maybe at a cooler white point. I think once you calibrate to D65 white point, I would expect a peak brightness of around 650 to 700 nits. And then the color gamut coverage has been spec'd at 98% DCI P3 UV, which is, the standard. We have been seeing 98%, 99% over the past few years. But I think what will make Vizio's OLEDs very appealing is the HDMI 2.1 capability. So the new Vizio OLEDs will have two full bandwidth 48 gigabits per second HDMI 2.1 ports. And this means that Vizio is probably the only OLED brand I'm aware of to offer the full 48 gigabits per second of HDMI 2.1 bandwidth on a self-emissive television in the year 2020. So if you remember from maybe a couple of months back, there has been an uproar over LG Electronics' decision to cut down the HDMI 2.1 bandwidth on their C10, their G10 OLED televisions from 48 gigabits per second to 40 gigabits per second. Now, in actual terms, there probably isn't that much of a difference of impact to most viewers out there. But maybe some high-end gamers would like to play games at 12-bit 4K at 120 Hz 444. They can't do that on the C10, but they should be able to do that on Vizio's new OLEDs, because Vizio's new OLEDs have the full 48 gigabits per second of bandwidth on two ports, namely HDMI 2 and HDMI 3, which will support 4K at 120 Hz at 12-bit 444. And Vizio, as an American-based TV brand, is also focusing a lot on other gaming features. So they have added a lot of HDMI 2.1 features onto their TVs, including their OLEDs. And these include ALLM or auto low latency mode. This will automatically switch the TV into game mode when you start playing a game. They will support variable refresh rate or VRR, including the AMD FreeSync version. And they will obviously support the 4K at 120 Hz at 12-bit 444 because of the 48 gigabits per second ports. So these ports will be on HDMI 2 and HDMI 3, and another HDMI 2.1 feature that will be supported on Vizio's televisions will be eARC, or Enhanced Audio Return Channel. But the eARC port will be on HDMI 1, so if you are gaming through, let's say, an Xbox and you are going to be using Dolby Atmos, then maybe you will have to think properly about how to wire up your system. And another appealing thing about Vizio's OLED is that it will support all the major HDR formats. So it will support the HDR10 static metadata format, and it will support the broadcast-friendly HLG or hybrid log gamma, and it will also support both Dolby Vision and HDR10 Plus dynamic metadata formats. Now the thing is, because I'm based in the UK, in Europe, I have been used to other OLEDs that support both Dolby Vision and HDR10 Plus as well, such as TP Vision Philips and also Panasonic. But I think in the USA, realistically, there only has been two major brands, basically LG and Sony, and LG doesn't support HDR10 Plus, Sony doesn't support HDR10 Plus either. So Vizio is the first OLED brand that will support both Dolby Vision and HDR10 Plus, what we call universal HDR support. So that is very, very good for the consumers. Now, I don't really rate HDR10 Plus that much, in side-by-side comparison of HDR10 Plus versus even static metadata HDR10 on an OLED TV, I could barely see a difference. And certainly in terms of market penetration, Dolby Vision is much more popular, much more mainstream than HDR10 Plus. But, as a checkbox ticking exercise, I think, the Vizio ticks all the right boxes, because they will offer HDMI 2.1 full 48 gigabits per second bandwidth, and also they will support both Dolby Vision and HDR10 Plus, probably the first OLED TV in the USA to do so. So I think it will be very appealing for many of you lucky people in the USA out there. And I haven't even come to the best bit yet, which is the price. And the 55-inch Vizio OLED will retail at around $1,300, whereas the 65-inch Vizio OLED will cost just under $2,000. And I think that these prices are extremely competitive when you consider that maybe in the USA, the LG C10 or CX will be priced at around $1,800 and $2,500 respectively. And this means that Vizio's OLED will be $500 cheaper than LG's and Sony's offerings. And obviously we will be interested to see what the video processing can do. Vizio is putting an IQ Ultra processor on these OLED TVs, so if I even manage to get my hands on a review sample, I don't know how that's going to happen, with me based in the UK, then we'll be interested to see, how it fares. But certainly, the Vizio OLEDs tick a lot of the right boxes for many of you out there who are looking for an OLED that supports multi-HDR formats and also the full HDMI 2.1 bandwidth of 48 gigabits per second, together with all the pro gaming features. So those are the OLEDs. Let's come to the Vizio P-Series X or PQX, which is a full array local dimming LED LCD television. And again, it has all the goods, all the great features that I, from across the pond, can only envy you guys in the USA for having access to such a high-spec TV at such a competitive price. So let's go through the specifications. The PQX will be available in 3 screen sizes, 65-inch, 75-inch, and brand new for 2020, a mammoth 85-inch model. So on the 85-inch P-Series Quantum, there will be 792 full array local dimming zones. This means that there are distinct segments, 792 of them, that can be control independently of each other in terms of turning off, in terms of generating high peak brightness, resulting in insanely high contrast for an LED LCD television. And the Vizio P-Series Quantum X will also have quantum dot enhancement film, so these will increase the color gamut. And I think from talking to my friend and colleague Chris Heinonen from previous years, Vizio's PQX has consistently generated or reached the highest Rec 2020 color gamut coverage among mainstream televisions. So maybe when he comes to measure the PQX this year, it will follow that trend. And peak brightness is rated at 3000 nits on a 10% window and 800 nits full field. Again, this will give tremendous impact to all types of HDR content, mainly bright ones, to give you that sort of realism that OLED simply cannot give because of automatic brightness limiter or ABL circuitry. And the best thing is, again, the price. Or before I actually get into the price, let's talk about the HDMI 2.1 features. So just like the OLED, the Vizio P-Series Quantum X will have the iQ Ultra video processor, so it will feature two HDMI 2.1 ports, which are both 48 gigabits per second in terms of the bandwidth. Now, remember when I said that on the OLED, the HDMI 2.1 ports are on port 2 and port 3. On the P-Series Quantum, the HDMI 2.1 ports are going to be on 3 and 4, while HDMI 1 will be the one with eARC. Again, they are separated. But all the pro gaming features are also going to be present on the Vizio P-Series Quantum. So ALM, VRR, and 4K 120Hz will also all be present on the P-Series Quantum X. Oh, I forgot to mention about the VRR rate. So on Vizio's OLEDs, the VRR rate is 40Hz to 120Hz, whereas on the P-Series Quantum, the VRR rate is 48Hz to 120Hz. So I think I mentioned the 85-inch PQX, the number of local dimming zones is 792, and one step down will be the 75-inch PQX, which will be rated at 2800 nits in terms of the peak brightness, and also it will have less zones, but still quite plentiful compared to many other large size TVs out there. It will have 480 local dimming zones. And then the 65-inch PQX, again, the peak brightness has been rated at 3000 nits, and then the number of zone count will be 384 zones. And let's talk about the price then. I think, the 85-inch PQX will come in at only around $3,000, which is insane, for someone who is based in Europe like myself. I genuinely can't think how Vizio can package a TV with 792 local dimming zones, quantum dot colors, with HDMI 2.1, and with also HDR10 Plus and Dolby Vision support, and on an 85-inch panel, for $3,000. I think, that's just an extremely appealing price for those of you who crave for a really large size television in your living room or even in your bedroom if you stay in a mansion. But I think I'm lost for words, really. I'm lost for words. This sort of price I can only dream of in the UK and Europe. So the 75-inch PQX will cost around $2,000, whereas the 65-inch PQX will retail at $1,500. Again, these prices just blows anything else at an equivalent specifications out of the water. And I really do wish that there is a way for me to test these TVs to assess the video processing. But yes, these TVs are going to be interesting and very appealing to many of you in the States, and maybe you would like to just hold off buying another brand's OLEDs or another brand's full array local dimming LED LCD for the moment while waiting for these Vizios whose key strengths are going to be two full bandwidth HDMI 2.1 ports and also multi-HDR support for Dolby Vision and HDR10 Plus on top of an extremely competitive price. If you found this video useful, please click the like button and subscribe to the HDTV Test YouTube channel for more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.